Welcome to today's broadcast. We're glad you're here. We have an exciting session planned for you. Should you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us.
This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning.
The Zipline webinar series is brought to you by smartShift, the global leader in intelligent automation for SAP transformations.
Hi, I'm Steve Copens, your host for the Zipline webcast. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to be talking about a topic today that's critical to every company: security. Specifically, we want to discuss how security issues can impact custom code in your SAP systems. And we're also going to tell you how smartShift helps customers solve these problems with really unique solutions that are designed chiefly for quick resolution and minimal disruption. I've got two of smartShift's experts with me today to bring their perspective from the field to the table. Matt Roon is our Director of Strategic Alliances, and Anil Kumar Pale is a Program Manager and Solution Architect. I'll let them introduce themselves. Matt, why don't you go first?
So I've been at smartShift for more than 8 years at this point, doing a variety of roles, both customer facing and partner facing. So I've seen kind of all aspects of where the security issues really start to become prevalent within these types of customer accounts and why it's important to address them using a scalable, replicatable automation approach. Happy to have this conversation today.
Thanks for being here, Matt. Anil, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is Anil. I'm the Senior Program Manager and Solution Architect at smartShift. I've been with smartShift for last 8 years and have overall 20 years of experience in the field of SAP transformation. I have worked with customers globally, managing large customer accounts like BMW, Diageo, helping them modernize their SAP custom applications. So happy to be in part of the discussion.
Great, thanks to you too. If you're watching us live on LinkedIn, you can use the comments to ask questions, and we'll get to as many of them as we can at the end of the session. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that like button and make sure that you subscribe to always get the latest updates from smartShift. All right, without further ado, let's jump right in. Matt, you've helped a lot of smartShift customers actually realize the benefits of our solutions. Does the issue of security come up when we're talking to them about custom code in general?
Absolutely, all the time. So smartShift via our automation platform kind of self-selects to some of the largest, most complex SAP instances globally. These are companies, household brands I'm sure you've heard of, that rely heavily on SAP to run their back-end processes, and it's integral to the ongoing operation of their business. Beyond looking at SAP as something that needs to be modernized and improved, they're definitely concerned about the security of their systems, because we've heard directly from customers that every hour of unexpected or unplanned downtime has a cost tag well into the millions of dollars. So that's something that they really can't anticipate or find to be acceptable. And they also look at it from the perspective of what a potential malicious attack would look if they did have an extensive outage. So when smartShift is looking at these types of opportunities to help modernize these systems, we don't look just at what we need to address from a compliance or performance optimization perspective. We look at it from what we can do to help secure these systems, both from an identification of potential issues, as well as a very low impact remediation and execution perspective to actually realize those changes to minimize any potential adverse issue from the business user perspective.
Great. So security is obviously a multifaceted problem, but custom code is a very critical piece of that in your SAP system.
Absolutely.
So Anil, smartShift has a patented automation solution that does an amazing job of remediating custom code more comprehensively than anybody else can. Does it specifically handle security issues?
Yes, sure, Steve. For beginners, smartShift has a parser-based rule engine that analyzes code, identifies issues, and also transforms them in a consistent manner, fully automatically, of course. The transformation categories include HANA, S4HANA, compliance, security, performance, and maintainability. So security is the highlight here because that is what we are going to talk today. And yes, of course, our security rules are based on BISAC standards for a web focusing on custom applications. So smartshift security solution is also designed to complement other security platform tools such as OneApsys, CVA, and others.
Great. And so security is an inherent part of our wide array of security rules.
Yeah.
And you can implement them. But are there any challenges that come up for customers when you're trying to implement ABAP security fixes?
Yes, definitely. So when we would try to contact a customer and find out the challenges, what I have seen basically there are three major challenges we have seen. First one always is the business disruption, that is fixing code without authorization setup and a disruption of critical processes is unacceptable. There is a need for a non-disruptive stepwise approach which SmartShift could offer already. And the second one, which I could say, is there are many tools and providers of SAP security capabilities, as I mentioned, like SAP CVA, OneApsys, or external implementers, but they're all analysis focused and are limited or with no remediation capabilities. That means the customers are left to fix thousands of security issues identified by these analysis tools manually. And as you know, manual approaches are always costly, time consuming, and produce low quality code. And also the major, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no,
Steve?
no, great. So the couple things that I'm keying in on there are that other companies that offer security functionality vis-a-vis code, ABAP custom code are just finding issues. By and large,
Yes.
customers are left to fix those themselves.
Yes, exactly.
The other thing I guess related to that is, do customers have typically the in-house expertise to be able to fix those security issues?
No, they don't have in-house expertise, at least in custom code, to fix it manually. So that is where the analysis tools will give us a guidance on how to fix, but there will be thousands and thousands of fixes to be made. And if you have to do it manually, it is, as I said, time consuming and low quality. So that is where the SmartShift automation will come in place, where we fix these issues in less time with more quality, less risk, and less, what you say, more automation.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think probably the most important thing for the context of what we're talking about here as well is that you say that just fixing security issues may actually disrupt the business. Right?
Yes.
So if you implement, I think you were saying an authorization check into
Yeah.
a custom code object, all of a sudden somebody who was supposed to be able to have access to functionality is now going to be locked out because we've done the right thing by fixing it, but it's not aligned with a security model to say maybe this person needs a role that allows them to access this with the right security checks. Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So Matt, pivoting back to you, this sounds like a very real problem that could really get in the way of our customers getting the full value out of SmartShift code remediation. When our company, when SmartShift hears about issues like this, what's the typical response? How do we respond to the identification of this is a problem?
Well, it's worth contextualizing the how we generally approach this with these types of companies who are facing these types of issues, because quite often they're at least tangentially aware of these types of issues within their system. But given the age of their system, the fact that most who originally wrote this custom code have long since moved on, and poor documentation, a lot of our customers, including ones that are very large, have a pretty poor understanding of exactly what is within their environment. And they really need first help contextualizing it before they can even begin to look at, okay, now that you've showed me these issues, how do we go about remediating them? So many of the customers we work with today are embarking on, S4 and RISE journeys, which is a fundamental shift in the way their SAP system is structured. And it's a great change event to start identifying and realizing security issue remediation. So when we hear about these, issues with customers, our first step is to educate them that this is something that SmartShift can work with them on to both identify and then automatically remediate these types of issues. Because as Anil said, what we want to avoid is customers avoiding addressing these types of problems because of perceived issue with business impact. We don't want these security issues to be ported across to the latest and greatest SAP release version. We want to give customers a roadmap and the confidence that someone like SmartShift with our automation can both automatically identify and then remediate these types of issues, giving them a much more secure, stable system with a minimum amount of adverse impact to their business users.
Oh, great, great. So in the context of security, what we did is we identified that there's a problem with actual implementation. And then we came up with a solution that overlays our basic capability, calling it basic, it's not basic capability, but our ability to remediate thousands
Core
of security
capability,
issues
yeah.
that can, core capability, that can cause issues if you just do it without forethought, right? And we created a specific solution that solves that problem. We've done it not only in the security space, but outside of that as well for other types of scenarios. Great. So Anil, can you tell us about the specific solution that SmartShift came up with to address security remediation and make it more intelligent, more phased, more stepwise?
Yeah, the security solution which SmartShift has developed is a combination of tools, framework, and methodology with SmartShift experts to deliver a comprehensive solution. So I would say that it identifies security vulnerabilities in application code and relationships. It automatically remediates issues, and it is a non-disruptive framework. That means we are resolving the security issues in two phases. First phase is always the soft error, where we made the code change, we adjust the tables, we start tracking the issues, errors in a SmartShift table. And then after a few months of tracking it or in the soft mode, the customer can choose and go to hard error mode where he will adjust his customization and also adjust the roles of various users where the SmartShift solution has identified the errors in their authorization. And after that, if you can simply make with a simple switch, change it to hard mode. That means at this point, after 3 months or 6 months down the line from the first phase one, the customer can go to hard mode where a particular user will be allowed to access an application only if he is allowed to access the data. Otherwise, he will not be allowed.
Great,
So first we start with the non-disruptive and then we go into hard mode.
great. So
Not only that, just to add 2 more points, sorry, Steve.
Sure, no.
We also provide reporting and auditing of these developments and runtime of applications. And the important thing is we also complement the security platform tools like Synapsys, SAP CVI. That means whatever the issues these tools identify, we fix them. That is, we are working in tandem with this.
Great. So we can.
Thank you,
we can-
Steve.
That's a great answer. So we can take in code vulnerability analyzer results and augment our
Yeah.
analysis, right? And we can also kind of double check that we're properly addressing those issues. And you're also
Yeah.
saying that the phased approach here is that we find issues that would be disruptive if we just fix the problem. And
Yes.
we soft enforce them. And I think you said that we create tables where we're actually logging who's using those,
Yes.
who's accessing those vulnerabilities essentially.
Exactly. Yes.
Does that, what's the benefit there? Does that give people the ability to say, from an audit standpoint, haven't fixed the problem in a way that prevents people from accessing this yet, but I have implemented auditing, so now I know exactly what's going on. Does that allow them to kind of meet upfront audit requirements while we work with them on fully fixing the problem? Is that why it's there?
Yes, Steve, you're right. So the main idea behind the soft disruption is that one, we are showing the projects that we are solving the problem. At the same time, we are meeting the audit requirements. The actual solution will happen only once we go to the hard phase where we are completely eliminating all the vulnerabilities.
Great, great. So Matt, if you don't have this smartshift solution to your ABAP security problems, what's the alternative to implementing an approach like
Well,
this framework?
it depends on the level of, let's call it, institutional knowledge and comprehension you have on your internal system, as well as what other tools, whether that's SAP Code Vulnerability Analyzer or Anapsys, that you currently have access to. Even with those tools, even with a good degree of knowledge about the issues your system is facing, you'd still, as Anil mentioned, have to go through and manually address those. And without the methodology that he just mentioned, you'd be facing, potentially some very irate business users who would suddenly go into work on Monday and realize that their existing workflows have been fundamentally shifted, and they would have to go through IT support and help desk and everything else to restore access, which could certainly take a longer period of time. The smartShift capability here between the tooling as well as the solution for application is entirely bespoke and customizable per customer requirements. So that's the unique ability for us to tweak our methodology and our deployment cycles to align with whatever customers are looking for, to align with their requirements, their release versions, their ongoing initiatives, just to minimize that impact. Without that methodology, you'd be looking at it, just whacking down moles, one at a time, and really dealing with the almost continuous fallout from impacted business users.
Yeah, it's a fun carnival game, not a fun production problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the long story short there is that there's nobody else really offering the kind of robust ability to not only find but fix security vulnerabilities. We work with other players in the industry so that we can cross-check results and make sure that we're addressing everything. So basically, if you're not using smartshift, you can scan and find issues, but we fix them. Right?
And we've seen Fortune 500 companies come to us with outputs from those types of companies that work on the security and analysis perspective, and say, hey, I have this list now of all these issues in my system, and I can't unsee it. Which means if something goes wrong in the future, I'm going to be accountable for this. How do I go about actually realizing these remediations and these fixes within my environment? And we can certainly consume those as an input, and we can also operate as a standalone measure without any reliance on those types of third-party scans or any specific, SAP Solution Manager or release level compliance issues. The only thing I'd note here is, smartshift is looking at security solely from the perspective of, custom code authorization checks within that specific area of the SAP environment. There are many other companies that do a great job in some of the other areas around infrastructure and other access and identity management activities outside of custom code that are certainly going to be important for an overall security posture review and security hardening.
Great. So Anil, can you talk a little bit about how we integrate with other code vulnerability analyzer tools? Briefly, how does that integration work? What does it entail?
Yeah. The scanner tool like CVA or Anapsys is used to identify the security vulnerabilities in custom code. That's what Matt was talking till now. So what we offer is the results from these tools can be loaded into a smartshift platform, and the algorithms which smartshift has developed over years will use this information to scope, prioritize the issues which are critical. As such, smartshift can work standalone. However, it's oftentimes used reporting and compliance reasons. As Matt was saying, Fortune 500 companies have already invested a lot in installing these tools. So we would use the results from these tools as an input to load into our smartshift platform and start analyzing and fixing the issues. As smartshift plays the enabler role by focusing on automating ABAP security hardening, while these scanners serve as the enterprise vulnerability monitoring tools. So smartshift works hand in hand with them.
Yeah, thank you. So Anil, what's the process for actually implementing the security solution when we do it for a customer? Because you do this in the field for customers, right? So what's the process like? How long does a typical project take?
Yes, sure. Based on my experience of implementing more than 20 to 30 projects in a major automotive company, I would say that the implementation process itself typically involves a stepwise approach to prevent business disruption, as we discussed earlier. The solution is implemented in two phases, starting with a soft error phase and moving on to the hard errors in phase two. In phase one, the smartShift framework code changes are inserted into programs and RFC function modules, as well as call transactions and DirectDB updates. It is non-disruptive to the existing functionality and business operations. In the second phase, the hard error phase, after 3 months to 6 months of implementing of phase one, customer reviews the error log and adjusts security model and changes some SmartShift customizing to hard. So typically, the majority of SmartShift implementation effort, I would say, will be in the phase one implementation, where we set up the deny approval list, we set up the logical file paths, set up code changes for, and also set up error logging. And as the framework is designed to adjust the configuration from soft to hard with a simple switch mechanism, after the customer reviews error logs and adjusts the customization after 3 to 6 months time.
Okay.
I hope I answered your
No,
question.
you did. So it sounds like there's a few weeks of actual implementation, and then there's a stretch in the middle where you're monitoring the results and using that
Yes.
back to change your security model, and then there's a little bit of work but not much at the end or towards the latter phases to actually decide when to flip the switch from soft enforcement to hard enforcement. So it sounds relatively lightweight.
Yes, Steve.
All right, and Anil, I'll just one more thing, and then Matt, we'll come back to you. But what would you say, really, just very quickly? What is the most important thing for a customer to be prepared for a project like this?
Okay, I would say the most important one thing you are asking, I would say develop a comprehensive plan, understand the current security posture. It is essential to have a clear understanding of current ABAP security vulnerabilities before the remediation process is initiated. This will help prioritize the most critical issues and allocate resources effectively. SmartShift framework can help prioritize and automatically remediate these critical issues as it works hand in hand with other analysis tools.
Great. All right, Matt. When you're talking to customers, how do you qualify the need for our security framework solution?
So for the types of customers that merit an automated approach for an SAP modernization journey, there's an inherent security issue that is almost certainly there within the system that we can help resolve. So it's something that we bring up fairly early on in the process when we're working with customers to help them design their S4 and otherwise SAP modernization strategy, just to show them the power of automation to address these types of issues that they may have not considered already. Security is sometimes the third rail for a lot of these companies because it's something that they know they should be addressing, but it's very difficult for them to wrap their heads around and to put a tangible approach in place that's going to help both identify and resolve these types of vulnerabilities. No one wants to be the next one that has ransomware installed in their system or shows up on the pages of the Wall Street Journal because they lost access to their environment. But at the same time, no one wants to take responsibility for proactively identifying and starting to resolve these issues. SmartShift is a very easy way to go through, and with a scalable, replicatable model and the solution deployment that Anil has covered, actually resolve these types of issues for these customers in a way that gives them the confidence needed to proceed.
Fantastic. Well, I wanted to say it doesn't seem like we've been talking for a long time, but we've talked for quite a while already, and it's been a really fascinating conversation. Thank you both again. I've really enjoyed it. I hope that our audience has learned a lot about SmartShift's really unique approach to securing SAP systems. And I'll also say this to those watching: if you're interested in finding out more, Please visit our website, www.smartshift.com, and find our contact form. It's the best way to get in touch with us. We'll put you in touch with the right person who can talk to you about this more. And with that, let's see what questions we have. Thank you again, everybody.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
The Zipline webinar series is brought to you by smartShift, the global leader in intelligent automation for SAP transformations.
Thank you for attending today's session. We trust it was both helpful and informative for you. If you'd like to speak with us on any of the topics discussed today, please contact us with your request. Thank you.